This video is not motivation, it's not advice, and it's definitely not comfort. This video is a confrontation. Inside this video, we're going to break down something most people never admit: how you didn't get stuck, how you stayed. We'll expose how pretending slowly became normal, how shame kept you quiet, and how you learned to defend a life that drains you. We'll talk about why understanding didn't change anything, how tolerance quietly became identity, why you get defensive when the truth gets too close, and the exact moment where pretending becomes impossible. This isn't theory. It's not philosophy. It's the pattern behind the life you're living right now. If you're looking for tips, this isn't for you. If you're looking for motivation, this isn't for you. But if you've ever felt tired without knowing why, if your life looks stable but feels empty, if something inside you knows this isn't it, stay. Because by the end of this video, you won't be able to say, "I don't know anymore."
Your discipline builds your future. Welcome to Clartify.
You're not confused. Let's kill that excuse first. Confusion is when you don't know what's wrong. You know. You've known for a long time. And that's exactly why this hurts. Because confusion would mean innocence. And you lost innocence the moment you realized this life doesn't fit you and stayed anyway. You didn't get stuck. You stayed. That difference matters. Stuck means trapped. Stayed means you agreed. Not proudly. Not consciously. Silently. You agreed every time you chose comfort over truth. Every time you delayed a decision you knew you had to make. Every time you said later instead of no. Later is not patience. Later is avoidance that learned how to sound mature. And the scariest part? Avoidance works. Your life didn't collapse. Nothing dramatic happened. No disaster forced your hand. So your brain did what it's designed to do. It optimized for safety, not meaning, not alignment. Safety. Even if that safety slowly empties you. This is why pretending is so dangerous. It doesn't feel like lying. It feels being responsible. You wake up. You function. You show up. From the outside, you look stable. From the inside, something is missing. Not broken. Missing. And missing things don't scream. They create silence. A silence you fill with noise, work, distractions, explanations. This is just adulthood. This is normal. This is how life is. No, this is how avoidance sounds when it wears intelligence. You didn't start pretending because you're weak. You started because it was practical. You learned how to survive without asking questions that would ruin everything. You said, "I'm fine," because explaining the truth felt dangerous. Dangerous to your image. Dangerous to your stability. Dangerous to the version of you everyone recognizes. So you stayed quiet. You kept performing. And performance works. It pays bills. It keeps peace. It avoids conflict. But it costs something quietly. You wake up tired. Not physically. Existentially. A tiredness sleep doesn't touch. You rest, but you don't recover. You succeed, but it doesn't land. You laugh, but it feels delayed. And you tell yourself, everyone feels like this. No, everyone ignores it. That's not the same thing. You're not tired because you do too much. You're tired because you're carrying a life that isn't aligned with who you are anymore. Alignment creates energy. Misalignment drains it. Daily, silently, without drama. That's why this is dangerous. Because there is no breaking point. No rock bottom. Just time passing. And time is ruthless when nothing forces a decision. Here's the truth nobody wants to say. You didn't stay because you didn't know better. You stayed because nothing punished you for staying. No immediate consequence. No visible disaster. So your nervous system adapted. And your nervous system learns faster than your mind. Every day you tolerate something that feels wrong but familiar, your nervous system learns this is normal, not good, normal. And once something becomes normal, it stops triggering alarms. That's when pretending becomes invisible. You stop feeling urgency. You stop resisting. Not because things improved, because you adapted. Adaptation is not growth. Adaptation is survival. And survival reshapes identity. Slowly, quietly. Until one day you look at your life and feel nothing. Not pain. Nothing. You're not sad. You're not angry. You're disengaged. Present but absent. Alive but watching. You're managing your life instead of living it. Maintaining it. Optimizing it. Protecting it. But not choosing it. And that's exhausting. Because management requires constant effort. You have to remember who you're supposed to be. How you're supposed to act. What you're supposed to want. That's why silence scares you now. Silence brings questions. And questions bring truth. And truth threatens the story you've been telling yourself. So you stay busy. Busy is the best hiding place. Because busy looks productive while avoiding everything that matters. This is why understanding didn't save you. You understand everything. You've watched the videos. You've read the books. You've named the problem. And nothing changed. Because understanding doesn't move identity. Repetition does. And you've been repeating this version of your life long enough for it to feel like you. That's when pretending stops being an act. It becomes who you are. And now change doesn't just threaten your comfort. It threatens your identity, your image, your role, your excuses. So you defend the lie, not consciously, automatically. You feel irritated when something exposes it. You get uncomfortable when silence lasts too long. You scroll, you distract yourself, because deep down you already know what the silence would say. And then, not a breakdown, not a crisis, a thought, sharp, clear. I can't keep doing this. Not because life is unbearable, because it's dishonest. That's the moment this video is about. The moment pretending becomes visible. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. From that moment on, everything feels heavier. Not because life got worse, because excuses stopped working. You can't blame confusion anymore. You can't blame circumstances. You know. And knowing creates pressure. Not to change immediately, but to stop lying. Let's talk about the part you never say out loud. The part you avoid even in your own head. Shame. Not the loud shame people post about. The quiet one. The kind that shows up when you imagine telling the truth and immediately feel stupid for wanting more. This is where pretending stops being comfortable and starts being heavy. Because deep down, you know something you don't want to admit. You didn't just end up here. You accepted it. And acceptance feels embarrassing when you remember who you used to be. There was a version of you that had limits. Things you said you would never tolerate. Lives you swore you would never live. Compromises you promised yourself you'd never make. And yet, here you are. Not destroyed, but smaller. And that's the most humiliating part. You didn't lose everything. You traded it away slowly. And because nothing exploded, you don't feel like a victim. You feel complicit. That's where shame lives. Not in pain, in participation. You're ashamed to admit how long you've been ignoring this feeling. Ashamed to admit how many exits you saw and didn't take. Ashamed to admit that staying was easier than leaving. So you don't call it regret. You call it realism. You don't call it settling. You call it being mature. You don't say, I gave up. You say, I adjusted my expectations. Language is how shame hides. Smart people are especially good at this. They don't deny reality. They reframe it. They build intellectual cages around their dissatisfaction. They explain their way out of discomfort. And explanation feels intelligent. But here's the truth. If this life truly fit you, you wouldn't need to defend it so much. Aligned people don't justify their lives. They live them. Defense is a symptom. You feel it when someone asks a simple question. Are you happy? And your body reacts before your mouth does. A pause. A laugh. A joke. Anything but a clean answer. Because a clean answer would expose something ugly. Not sadness. Shame. Shame for knowing better and still staying. Shame for tolerating things you once said you wouldn't. Shame for becoming someone you don't fully respect. This is why you get irritated when something hits too close. Why certain sentences make you defensive. Why some videos make you angry instead of curious. It's not disagreement. It's exposure. You feel seen in a way you didn't consent to. And that's dangerous, because once shame is exposed, it loses its power. So you protect it. You hide behind gratitude. You tell yourself, others have it worse. I should be thankful. This isn't that bad. Gratitude becomes a weapon you use against your own truth. And here's the twisted part. It works. It shuts the voice up. But it doesn't make it go away. It just pushes it deeper. That's why the discomfort comes back at night, in silence, when you're alone with yourself and there's no performance to maintain. This is also why praise traps you. People admire your composure, your stability, your ability to handle things, and every compliment reinforces the role. You become known as the one who doesn't complain, the one who adapts, the one who's easy. And being easy slowly makes you invisible. You disappear in exchange for approval, and approval feels like safety, until one day you realize no one actually knows you anymore, because you stopped showing yourself. Not because you were forced to, because it was easier. And now the idea of leaving this life feels heavier than staying. Not because staying feels good, because leaving would require a confession. A confession that says, I knew, I tolerated, I agreed. That confession feels unbearable. So you stay. And staying feels like punishment you don't know how to end. This is why people defend lives that suffocate them. Not because they love them, because they're ashamed to admit how long they've defended them already. Leaving now would expose the lie. It would reveal how much time was wasted, how many chances were ignored, how many truths were swallowed. So they double down. They optimize the cage. They improve the routine. They become efficient at surviving, and survival becomes the goal. Not meaning, not alignment, survival. This is where numbness deepens. Not sadness, not anger. A dull pressure, a constant low-level irritation, a need to stay distracted. Because silence now feels dangerous. Silence brings questions, and questions bring truth, and truth threatens the story you've been telling yourself. You're not afraid of change. You're afraid of admitting how long you've avoided it. This block hurts because it removes the last excuse. The excuse that you stayed because you didn't know better. You knew, and knowing is what makes this heavy. Not because it condemns you, because it wakes you up. And waking up after a long time is disorienting, painful, unavoidable. Let's talk about what happens after shame. Because shame alone doesn't keep you stuck. Defense does. Once you realize you're tolerating a life that's draining you, your mind does something dangerous. It protects it. Not because it loves that life, because it fears what comes after admitting the truth. So it builds defenses. Stories, explanations, justifications. Not to convince others, to convince you. This is where pretending becomes aggressive. You don't just live the lie anymore. You defend it. You argue for it. You feel attacked when someone questions it. And you might not even notice you're doing it. Let me give you a real example. There's a man in his late 30s. Good job. Stable income. Respected. On paper, everything works. Inside, he feels empty. He wakes up every day already tired. Not because of work, because of repetition. Same routines, same conversations, same future. He knows this isn't the life he imagined. He's known for years. But listen to how he talks about it. He says things like, at least I'm not struggling. At least I have security. At least I'm being responsible. Every sentence starts with at least. At least is not gratitude. At least is defense. It's how you lower the bar until your dissatisfaction looks unreasonable. When someone asks him, do you actually enjoy your life? he gets irritated. Not because the question is unfair, because it's accurate. Accuracy feels like violence when it threatens your coping mechanism. So he defends harder. He explains more. He lists everything that could go wrong if he ever questioned this path seriously. Fear dressed as logic. Another example. A woman in her early 40s. She once had strong opinions, clear boundaries, dreams she talked about with intensity. Now she describes herself as realistic. She laughs when people mention passion. She says things like, "That's for younger people. Life doesn't work like that. You have to accept reality." Acceptance sounds wise. But look closer. Her eyes go flat when she talks about her days. She's not at peace. She's resigned. And resignation hates being exposed. So when someone younger talks about wanting more, she dismisses them, calls them naive, idealistic. Not because they're wrong, because they remind her of who she used to be. And that reminder hurts. This is how defense works. It doesn't just protect you, it attacks anything that threatens the story. You see this everywhere. The person who mocks ambition, the one who rolls their eyes at purpose, the one who says that's just how life is. They're not cynical, they're defending against regret. Because if they admit something better was possible, they'd have to face the cost of staying. So they rewrite reality. They call survival maturity, they call fear realism, they call avoidance wisdom, and the more convincing the story, the harder it becomes to leave it. This is why conversations feel dangerous now. Not arguments, conversations. Because a simple question can crack the defense. Is this really what you want? That question feels like an attack. So you respond defensively. You get sarcastic. You get dismissive. You change the subject. Not because you don't understand the question, because you do. Defense is fastest where the truth is closest. Here's another example. Someone who once said, "I don't want to wake up one day and feel like I wasted my life." Years later, they wake up exactly there. And instead of facing it, they say, "I guess this is normal. Everyone feels stuck sometimes. This is just adulthood." Notice the pattern. Normalization is the final defense. Once something is normal, it's no longer a problem. And once it's no longer a problem, it no longer demands courage. This is how people stay in lives that quietly erase them. Not through ignorance, through defense. Defense is exhausting, because you have to keep the story alive. You have to remind yourself why this makes sense, why leaving is irresponsible, why wanting more is selfish, why questioning things is dangerous. That's why you're tired. Not because life is hard, because you're constantly arguing with reality. And here's the part nobody warns you about. The longer you defend a life, the more your identity fuses with it. At some point, leaving doesn't just mean change. It means admitting you were wrong. And the ego hates that. So it would rather stay miserable than lose the argument. This is why people protect jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, identities that suffocate them. They're not trapped. They're invested. Invested in the story that this was the right choice. Because admitting otherwise would shatter the self-image they've built. And that's terrifying. So they attack the messenger. They mock the idea of change. They downplay their dissatisfaction. They say things like, "People who chase fulfillment are unrealistic. Life is about responsibility, not happiness." Responsibility becomes a shield. A shield you hide behind to avoid asking a harder question. What if I stayed because I was afraid? That question is lethal. Because once you ask it honestly, defense collapses. And without defense, there's nothing between you and the truth. You don't defend this life because it's good. You defend it because admitting the truth would destroy the story you survived with. This is why this block feels aggressive. Because it removes the last layer of protection. The layer that says, "I'm fine because this makes sense." Sense is not meaning. Logic is not alignment. An explanation is not peace. You can explain a cage perfectly and still suffocate inside it. Once you see how much energy goes into defending this life, you start to understand something uncomfortable. Leaving wouldn't be as exhausting as staying has been. The exhaustion came from pretending and defending at the same time. And that's not sustainable. There is a moment that changes everything. Not because it motivates you, because it removes your ability to pretend. This moment is not dramatic. No breakdown, no crying, no explosion. It's quiet. And that's why it's irreversible. It's the moment you realize you can no longer honestly say, I don't know, because now you do. You've seen the pattern. You've seen how you stayed, how you tolerated, how you defended, how you explained. And once you see the pattern, your mind can't unsee it. This is the point of no return. Not because life changes immediately, but because innocence is gone. Before this moment, you could blame confusion. After this moment, you can't. Before this moment, you could say, I just need more time. After this moment, time becomes evidence. Every day that passes feels heavier. Not because you're unhappy, because you're aware. Awareness doesn't scream. It presses. It makes silence louder. It makes distractions weaker. It makes excuses thinner. This is why people fear awareness more than pain. Pain can be blamed. Awareness points inward. And once awareness is active, your life splits in two directions. Not externally, internally. On one side, continuing exactly as you are. On the other, admitting that something has to give. And here's the part no one tells you. Both paths are painful, but only one is honest. Staying will cost you slowly. Leaving will cost you immediately. The mind always chooses the slower pain. That's why most people go back to pretending. Not because they didn't understand. Because understanding alone doesn't give courage. It gives responsibility. And responsibility is heavy. You'll feel it after this video. Not as inspiration, as pressure. A subtle tension in your chest. A feeling that something is unresolved. That feeling is not anxiety. It's truth without action. And truth without action is uncomfortable by design. Because it's supposed to be. This video isn't asking you to change your life today. It's doing something more dangerous. It's removing your ability to lie to yourself comfortably. From now on, every time you say, this is fine, something inside you will respond, no, it isn't. And that voice won't scream. It will wait, patiently, until silence gives it space. This is why people avoid this moment. Because once you reach it, going back feels dishonest. You can still say, you can still tolerate, you can still defend. But it will feel different now. Heavier, because now you know you're choosing it. And choice removes excuses. This is where many people stop watching. Not because the video is wrong, because it's accurate. Accuracy feels like exposure. And exposure feels dangerous to a life built on defense. But if you stayed until here, it means something already cracked. Not your life, your story. And once the story cracks, reality starts leaking in. Slowly, relentlessly. This is the real ending. Not hope, not motivation, not a plan, just clarity. And clarity is not gentle, but it's honest. And honesty is the only thing that makes pretending impossible. From here on, you won't be asking, what should I do? You'll be asking something heavier. How long am I willing to keep agreeing to a life I know isn't mine? That question doesn't demand an answer today, but it will not leave you alone. And that's the point. If you made it this far, you already know something changed. Not in your life, in your awareness. And awareness is dangerous because it doesn't let you go back to sleep. This channel isn't here to motivate you. It's here to remove excuses, to expose patterns, to say the things most people avoid. If this video hit too close, that's not a coincidence. It means you're not numb. You're paying attention. If you want more content like this, deep, honest, uncomfortable, subscribe. Not because it will make you feel better, because it will make pretending harder. And that's where real change starts.
Thank you for watching. If you're ready to upgrade your mind and build unshakable discipline, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. More powerful lessons are coming. Stay disciplined. Stay Clarify.